Powerful breakthrough in the south. Ukrainians crossed Dnipro river and took Russians by a complete surprise. In addition to that, 3,000 Z soldiers are in grave danger, and after one extremely unsuccessful attack of Russians against Avdiivka, they lost up to 63 military vehicles in one attack. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Now let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. So, you already know probably one of the biggest propagandists of Russia, Margarita Simonyan. This was so ridiculous intro, but I liked it. Let me know in the comments if you did too. And so, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago she said, let's nuke Siberia, so America will be afraid of Russia. Hit each other, hit ourselves, so the enemy will be scared to death. And so then obviously there was a backlash specifically from people from Siberia, and then approximately several days later after this statement she had to make another video saying that dear people of Siberia, I apologize, I did not mean that we have to nuke you. And in fact, you know what? I never said it. I never said that we have to nuke Siberia. So, Margarita Simonyan, she's like a kid who just got caught in doing something bad by her parents, and then she's like, no, I did not do it, this was my brother, this was Mr. Solovyov who said it, I did not say anything. Just truly like a kid. But what else would you expect from Russian propagandists? But I mean, okay, now let's get serious and talk about some more news about ATACMS missiles for Ukraine and the reaction of Putin, which is a very interesting one. And then we'll go to the east of Ukraine and talk about unsuccessful attempt of Russians which cost them 63 military vehicles, and then we'll finalize everything in the south, where Ukrainians did a pretty powerful breakthrough. And so yes, if you remember from my previous episode, I mentioned that approximately 12 ATACMS were sent to Ukraine, but apparently yesterday it was mentioned that the real number is more close to 20. And as of right now, at the time of recording this video, Ukrainians already fired 11 of them. And the most significant impact, if you remember, happened in Berdyansk airfield, where they were able to destroy a lot of Russian military aerial vehicles, equipment, and even the runway itself. And you might also remember that I did mention that maybe the number of ATACMS will increase in the future. And this is pretty much something what we're seeing right now. And I still think that this is not the end. More ATACMS is coming, I'm almost certain in it. But interestingly enough, we have already the reaction by President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, who is saying that yes, America sent ATACMS to Ukraine, but it does not matter, war is war. And this is interesting thing number one. He did say that this is a war, not a special military operation. So according to current laws in Russia, he should be prosecuted or fined for calling things by their own names. But I think, I guess the law does not apply to him personally. Anyways, another thing that he mentioned that, okay, so America sent these missiles to Ukraine, but why would they even do it? The war is already lost. However, he did not specify who is the losing side in this conflict, and he said that pretty much, the same thing. Russia will be prevailing, we were gonna win everything, America is nothing, Ukraine is nothing, and I'm the most powerful man on earth. He did not say it literally, but this is what he meant. And just by judging by his speech, you can clearly see that he's pretty nervous. I mean, just take a look at this. And just one quick thing about Israel-Hamas conflict, because we have another ridiculous statement of Dmitry Medvedev about this topic. And so what I mean by that is that I'm sure most of you already familiar that there was a big incident in one of the hospitals, and still it is being determined who was behind this attack. But at this moment all factors point that this was Hamas behind this attack. And basically what Dmitry Medvedev said, guess what? It was not Israel who attacked hospital, it was not Palestine, it was not even Hamas. It was America this hospital in the Middle East. But since not too many people, if any, still take him serious, let's just ignore him. That's the best thing to do with people who just look for attention. You ignore them and let them be doing their own crazy stuff themselves. And one last thing from this segment of the video before we go to the east is that UK is sending its multiple launch rocket system M270 along with the small team which will be maintaining this system. And this will be obviously sent to Ukraine. But okay, now let's finally switch our attention to the east of Ukraine and talk about up to 3,000 Russian soldiers being in grave danger before moving to the south. And in the meantime, guys, if you please do not mind, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this style of daily updates, because this does help tremendously my work, so thank you so much. You can also follow me on Instagram to see how I live outside of YouTube, the link is down below. And so yes, right before going to the east, we just have to make one quick stop in Kursk, next to Khalino airfield, as you can see located right here, because recently at least 18 reportedly drone attacks, allegedly from Ukrainians, happened next to this airfield, and besides that, a military base of Russians is also located here, with up to 3,000 Russian soldiers being located right there, along with 80 pieces of military equipment and vehicles. And I mean, just think about it, 18 drones without being intercepted were able to fly relatively deep inside the territory of Russia and even reach their final destinations. There are reportedly casualties among the Russian infantry, and there's no guarantee that these attacks will just stop here. Ukrainians already know where it is located, they have their intelligence data, and they know that they can continue attacking without risking being their drones intercepted. So let's see. Attacks might continue to happen. But okay, now let's return to the actual east of Ukraine. And first of all, Ukrainians using HIMARS system, they are able to reportedly destroy an artillery firing position of Russians, along with couple multiple launch rocket systems located very close to Krakow. At the same time, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, Russians continued their offensive activities next to Kupiansk-Svatove Crimea front line and even reportedly advanced somewhere, even though not yet confirmed by this map. And the main focus of Ukrainians in their own counteroffensive was located around Bakhmut. At the same time, it has also been already confirmed by the British intelligence report that Russians for the last 2 weeks were bringing a lot of reinforcements to the above-mentioned Kupiansk-Svatove Crimea front line, and they even kinda intensified their attempts to advance, but all of them were successfully so far repelled by Ukrainians, not letting Russians capture any meter of land. And speaking about ATACMS, we have another video of 6 of these missiles being launched, in addition to 5 of the last day, which brings the total number of ATACMS used as of right now to 11, which means that Ukraine has still 9 left. But the most significant event in the east in the last 24 hours happened in Avdiivka, because according to the head of Avdiivka Military Academy, Vitaly Barabash, Russians attempted the most complicated, the most significant offensive against this city, and Ukrainians were able to completely repel it, which resulted in Russians losing 63 pieces of military armored vehicles. This was a total disaster for the Russian army. And unlike doing actual war stuff, where Russians are not that successful, however, there is one thing where Russians are pretty good at. So let's talk about this right now, and this specifically happened in the south of Ukraine, because there is unfortunately yet another attack against the civilian infrastructure located in Zaporozhye. And yet even more residential buildings have been destroyed by the Russian missiles debris located in Kherson region, as you can see from this picture. But Ukrainians did have their response as well, such as, for example, they were able to intercept another Su-25 fighter jet on the left side of Kherson region. And then 2 multiple launch rocket systems called Grad and also an ammunition warehouse of Russians were also destroyed by Ukrainians. And the most interesting part about this particular video is that at first there's only one multiple launch rocket system, Grad, which Russians used, and Ukrainians, instead of destroying it immediately, they started observing it and collecting the intelligence data, just to later find out that dislocation of Russian forces kinda in the hidden area. And then even more interesting thing happened. Russians for some reason decided to park the first Grad next to the second Grad, like literally next to each other. And then Ukrainians were like, okay guys, we need to attack right now, because only with one destruction we can obliterate both of them, and this is exactly what happened. And this video just shows you complete unawareness of the basics of war-related activities that some Russians might have, so it is really guys worth watching. And if you want to see the full uncensored version, it will be on my Patreon. In addition to early access to fully uncensored episodes of The Russian Dude, you can find the link down below. There is 1 week of free access for you to see if you like the service or not. So thank you so much guys for your support. But wait, there is more. Because the local residents of Sevastopol were also able to see some smoke and some loud noises, and later there were also reportedly some drone attacks against the Russian Black Sea Fleet, also in Sevastopol port. Also, exactly what I was talking about several videos ago, is that Russians, they know that their vessels are in the range for Ukrainians, and they still decide to keep them there. And obviously, Ukrainians will keep attacking them until they are fully destroyed. And well, what is the response by Russians? This one is extremely interesting as well. Reportedly, they even have so-called battle dolphins, which they kept in Sevastopol port. I don't know exactly what battle dolphin means, to be honest. And there was some even allegedly geolocation footage, which shows that they were bringing these battle dolphins all the way from Sevastopol to the northwestern parts of Crimea, preparing for potential Ukrainian attack there as well. Guys, I honestly do not know if battle dolphins are a thing, so just let me know in the comments if you believe in this mystery or not mystery at all. I really don't know, but I still decided to report on this because it is quite amazing. But back to seriousness, it looks like that Ukrainians were able to achieve a powerful breakthrough in the south in at least 2 directions. The first place came to us from the colonel of Ukrainian army, Alexander Shtupun, and he mentioned that Ukrainians were able to breach some defenses of Russians to the west of Verbove and even advance 1 kilometer deeper to this settlement. However, this information is not yet confirmed by this map or the General Staff of Ukraine. And Alexander Shtupun also mentions that in this attack Russians lost 355 soldiers and 22 military vehicles, including 2 tanks. And yet another crucial breakthrough happened in Kherson region, because according to Russian soldiers located in this area, Ukrainians were able to land on the left side of Kherson to the east of Antonovsky Bridge, approximately right here, and even recapture 2 settlements. And besides that, even though Russians were actively firing at them, Ukrainians did not fall back. They are still under control of these 2 settlements, and they repel Russian attacks as well. And according to the information I have right now, these 2 settlements we are talking about that Ukrainians were able to liberate are called Pishanivka and Poima, which can be seen on this map right here. And both of these potential breakthroughs are extremely crucial for this stage of war, because it is relatively obvious at this moment that Russians are primarily focusing their attention in the east, specifically along Kupiansk, Svatove, Kremina, and also in Avdiivka, where they are extremely unsuccessful. Once again, their last attack cost them 63 armored vehicles, 1 attack alone. For this reason, Russians do not look like that they are protecting the south so much, and Ukrainians, they decided to take advantage of this temporarily or maybe even permanent destruction. And so they resumed their counteroffensive against Verbove on Robotyne front line, and most importantly, they attempted once again to cross Dnipro river and start the liberation of the southern part of Kherson region. In either way, both of these territories are extremely crucial, because eventually, in case Ukrainians are successful, this will allow them to separate Crimea from the rest of occupied Ukraine and take the peninsula under 100% fire control. And we all know that as soon as Crimea is in danger, this is when Putin will start to be more cooperative. So hopefully one of these breakthroughs will lead to a major disaster to the Russian army very soon, and then we can see some major switches in the direction of this war. And if you don't want to miss any of these potentially life-changing events, can you please subscribe to my channel? It literally takes less than only one click, guys. And also I want to thank all my patrons so much for your support, and see you tomorrow.